All right, hey guys, Old Blue Accord back. I might use the tripod in here in a minute, but so we did the hard start video, and as you can see, I'm starting off with fresh gas to my carburetor. Got the safety, got the fire extinguisher handy. Well, it's not really running, so I think the fuel pump's not pulling, because when I try to start with gas, this line isn't twitching, so I'm not really having any suction. That's okay. I kind of figured out I've got some crap in the gas tank or something. I need to take this fuel filter apart and look at it. I think that's my next step. So I just poured a little gas down the carburetor. It fired right up a couple times, but just not getting any suction. That happens. There might be like a little leak. Remember, the suction side of a pump's not that strong, so I went ahead and ran that line back to fresh line to the tank, and I just didn't want to cut the line, so I made it's really long. I just don't want to cut it in half. It'd be kind of a waste. And fresh gas, more or less fresh gas. I had about a gallon of junk left in there, and I just put gas on top of it. Not the best idea, but I hate wasting gasoline. It's hard to get rid of. You can't just, you're really not supposed to just dump it in the ground or whatever. So part of what happened was, and this is of course my own doing, but underneath this mess here is my gas tank, and there's the sending unit. Obviously, fuel goes out this pipe right here. Doesn't seal real well. There's the O-ring, but I think a little bit is happening as water's getting down in there. I can actually see some little water droplets in that sunshine, but that's part of the problem. I've been covering it up. At one point I didn't, I forgot, but this is a 30-gallon Chevy Blazer tank, and I use this tank because when I went on like adventures, I didn't want to worry about running out of fuel or whatever. So, and I had it underneath the vehicle, obviously, but the problem with a 30-gallon tank is when you put a gallon or two of gas in it, you only have, I don't think it's just there's just a tiny bit of fuel down in there. You won't be able to see it. I kind of can, but you can see it glistening there. But yeah, and I think this pickup's not picking up. So I went ahead and went with the fuel jug. But that's kind of my own problem. Again, from a vehicle is sitting, and it sits outside, so I don't have it covered real well or anything like that. I've never had the luxury of keeping all my vehicles inside at once. But so what we're really doing here, besides just getting this thing to run, is I want to run the rear end in, because remember from the rear end project, it was all rusty in the axle tubes and all that stuff. So I did as best I could cleaning all that out. I've got everything put back together for the most part, and then I got fresh oil in it. Now what I want to do is I want to run it some right here. So I put the lug nuts on. All I want to do is put it in gear and maybe run it for a couple minutes, put it back in the garage, and then flush that oil again, because there's just a lot of rusty bits and crud in there. I've got some super magnets to stick to the casing to pick up everything, and yeah, I just don't want to put the wheels on and drive it down the road, because it's not proven that everything's okay. And then what I'll do is we'll pull the axle shaft out and make sure it's getting oil, and I want to do that here at the house. I don't want to be messing around. So I've spun it over by hand a few times, but I want to get oil all the places that it's supposed to be getting oil, so to keep it, or hopefully slow the rust down. But the big thing is this axle shot, and the backstory. This will take a little bit to tell, but the backstory was I ruined the original axle, kind of the same way, not really checking the oil, and the bearing went bad, and the shaft came out, and it actually damaged. You can see where it came out and beat this all up. It actually came out and banged in all this, big mess. So I tried to find another rear end for it, and in the meantime I got kind of tied up with getting married, and I had like 2 and then 3 houses at one time, and I was wanting to use this to move junk around. So I just figured, okay, I'll find an axle for it, which is hard, and this was like 15 years ago. So I did. I found an axle, and it was incomplete. Well, it wasn't put together. So I look in the back of this guy's truck. He's got it, and it's cheap, $250, and it's the chunk the housing, 2 axle shafts, the gears are out of it. It was a mess, and it happened to have the 354 gears, which you need with 4-wheel drive. You need matching gears front and back, and 354 in a international is not that popular, I've found. So it's pretty desperate. I bought it, 250 bucks. I knew right away it was kind of a mistake. The housing was really rusty. I cleaned it the best I could, put it all together. I used it to move, run around, and didn't really have any problems with it. And I put the gears together myself. They're not too bad. You know, when you put used gears in a used housing, I don't think all the parts actually match. I think a guy just pieced together a bunch of junk. It was missing backing plates and all kinds of stuff that kind of got into the drums were missing, which that's the expensive part at the time. Drums were like 150 bucks a piece. So I got kind of hornswoggled. That's okay. I needed it. You know, I needed it. So, and it did what it was supposed to do, but flashback 15 years later, 17 years later, the tube rusted up. So probably, you know, it's shot. I mean, it's not really worth any more than what I've done to it, but I would like to have this vehicle moving. So I took it apart. Obviously, you saw those videos, and the oil and everything's terrible. And I kind of let the project sit for about a year because I was hoping, just hoping I'd fall into another rear axle for a Scout, even if it didn't have the right gear. I was to the point now where I just need something to roll around on, and I have had no luck. So yeah, you can buy new and stuff. New axles, you're looking over $3,000 now for new tube, you know, because you'll have new housing, new gears, axle shafts, everything brand new. The prices are just astronomical. I saw one for $2,800 open differential. I really don't want an open differential, but if I was going to buy a new rear end, I'd want all the stuff, you know, the some kind of locking device and the gear I want, etc., etc. So it's kind of where we're at. I mean, you don't want to put $3,200 in a vehicle. It's just going to sit. At least I don't, unless I decide to fix it. So I guess what we're going to do is we're going to do, you know, we're going to run this in a little bit, and if we get the Scout going, which I will, we'll get this run in real good, and then drain the oil once or twice, and that should be good enough. I'm going to pull, like I said, I'm going to pull the shaft and make sure I'm getting oil from the diff over, because I'm still curious if that's what the issue is there. But I'm sure it was rust and slag and everything. But the driver's side looked great. It was this passenger side that just absolutely wasn't getting any oil. So, and I got lucky. I mean, it could have just broke on me. So I should have been a little bit more. I noticed that there was a little funny dragging noises and stuff. So, and yeah, and then we'll take it in the shop and check. There's a broken spring on one of the brakes, and the drums need turning and all kinds of good stuff. So that'll be good. But we gotta get this baby rolling, and I will. I mean, it's just you don't want to get too impatient. You want to be careful with gasoline. I've got the fire extinguisher out just in case, and got the batteries good. You know, that's the old battery from the Honda that I've let go dead about 7 times now. So it's pretty funny. It just keeps coming back. But we'll figure out what's going on here. I guess the next thing is maybe break apart. I believe this fuel filter comes apart, and there's a Chevy style filter in there, I believe, if I remember correctly. I changed my filter the way I used to do everything, so it's kind of hard to see in there. But and then the carburetor's junked up, I know it is. But yeah, that's where we're at. So just want to give everybody an update, and more of an update on the rear axle, probably more than anything. I'm kind of excited to get it, you know, running again a little bit and just zip around some. Obviously the frame's bad and all that, but I can move it around a little bit and do some things. And yeah, we'll go from there. But that's where we're at, just struggling to get it started and get it idling, you know, so I can get my oil where it needs to be, and then we'll find out, get it in the shop, and see what happens. So I guess the moral of the story is, don't let vehicles sit. It's just is what it is, and don't let your gas tank sit open and collect water, which it is what it is. And that's all for me. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.